Okay.
Patricia said the shortbread's now all eaten.
I'll bet.
Good laugh on the law, Patricia, but like my house. Right, everyone, tonight, this is week 4, I can't believe it, and then next week is the last week before Easter. So tonight we're going to make a coconut and jam sponge and a cornflake tart. Okay, so we're going back to old school tonight. Now they're really easy and simple recipes to follow. Okay, so I'm going to do the coconut jam sponge first because it takes the longest. Okay, and I'm going to do it in this tray here. It's like a wee roasting tray, you know, that size. So it's like 5 by 9 rectangular one. Okay, so I'm going to put it in squares. And what I've done is I've cut out a rectangle. It's just a bit bigger than the tray, and I'm going to grease it. Okay, I'm going to grease the tray. And remind me at the end, I want to show you how to make grease-proof paper for when you're doing a circular dish. Remind me at the end, and I'll show you how to do that. Okay, so I'm just going to grease this. All right, and I'm using just grease-proof paper or parchment paper, it doesn't matter. And push it down into the corners. Okay, so it's a good idea to get all your tins layered, lined and all before you start baking, so then you can just put it into the oven. Okay, so just make sure it's gone into the oven, because you want them, when you're cutting them, you want them to be nice squares. Okay, you have a nice shape. Okay, so I'll just leave that over there. All right, so I have my ingredients already weighed out. I'm using butter and eggs and sugar, some baking powder. So I'm using self-raising flour in this recipe. Okay, now because it's coconut and jam sponge, but they don't go on until it's baked. Okay, so I want to get it in the oven, and then at the end I'll show you what to do at the end. Okay, so I'm going to use 8 ounces of butter. Now in this recipe, there's a lot of butter in the recipe. Okay, because we're using 8 ounces of butter, 8 ounces of caster sugar. So I'm going to cream these together. Okay, so this is called the creaming method. And you do this for a lot of cakes. You know, if you want to make like a Victoria sandwich, which we'll be doing next week as well. Okay, and it's very similar to this Victoria sandwich, but the quantities are a little bit different. There's more butter in this recipe. Okay, because whenever you slice it, it'll be quite heavy, you know, because it's a sponge, because it's pudding, so it'll be quite heavy. So it's a bit indulgent, but it'll be nice for a dessert on the weekend. And I think everybody likes jam and coconut, don't they? It's a good old favourite. So just you want to get the sugar, the crunch of the sugar to disappear, and you want to get the butter nice and creamy and white, okay, and soft. So just use the back of your spoon and turn your bowl around, and using the back of your spoon, you're just pressing it in. If you have a mixer, you can use your electric mixer. Okay, but I like doing it by hand. As I said before, it's a bit therapeutic to do a little bit of baking by hand rather than just shoving it all into the mixer. So it's nearly coming together now, so there'll be no more crunchy sugar. Then you kind of know that it's starting to come together for you. And it's so this is, as I said, this is called the creaming method. Okay, so a lot of baking, it all starts off like with the rubbing in method, or the creaming method, or the whisking method. So there's all different. Whisking would be like for an egg sponge. The rubbing in method is what we done last week for the apple tart, and the creaming method is really for buns and cakes. Okay, and what we're doing tonight, pudding or sponge. So as you can see, there's a lot of butter in this recipe compared to flour. So there's 8 ounces of butter, and then there's only going to be 10 ounces of flour in it. Okay, so all right, so that's it there now. Now I have self-raising flour here. I'm going to add a teaspoon. I see it says two teaspoons of self-raising flour. I'm going to add that into the flour just before I forget. Okay. Now this is self-raising flour, and we're also using baking powder as well. Because there's so much water, it'll be needed to make it kind of rise. Okay. So what I'm going to do then is I'm going to crack an egg. I'm going to crack one egg at a time and add it in. Okay. So I have 4 eggs for this recipe. Okay. So I'm just going to add one at a time. Okay. That's one. I'll give it a good beat. All right. Get it all mixed in and do the next one. Now the reason I'm putting them in the bowl is because sometimes you get shell. Oh, sorry, I forgot to whisk it, but I'll whisk it in the bowl. Sometimes you get shell and in your mix, so sometimes you'd be better just cracking your eggs into a bowl, and then you want to take out the shell, you can use half the egg and lift out if there's any bits of shell in it. All right. Now I'll just do this one. Just get a wee bit. Okay, so we're putting all the egg in first, and then we're going to put in the flour. Is anybody cooking along with me tonight? Is Louise on tonight?
I don't see Louise in yet, and she normally is. And I don't see Mary in either, which is quite worrying because she's always here.
Oh, Mary's iPhone is there, but she's not. She has her camera off.
That's not Mary, but that's a different Mary, isn't it? No.
What is it?
That's not Mary Hughes, but I don't think. No, I don't see where Louise is, unless she's a wee bit late.
So anyway, I'll go back over it again if she comes in.
Yeah.
So that's a lot of egg. Okay, and just give it a good beat. Now I'm just going to use my sieve here. Okay, and then I'm just going to sieve the flour into it, and we're going to fold it in. So whenever you're doing with flour, it's important that you fold. Okay, so folding is turning your spoon over and getting all the flour into it. Okay, and going gently with it because you want to get air into it. All right. Just look to see, and then just do it in stages. Don't tip all the flour in, just do it in stages, and then fold gently. All right. Does anybody make their own puddings from years ago? Puddings, I say puddings. Puddings. Does anybody make their own?
I've made that. I've made sponge the odd time, but not that often. And I've made lemon meringue.
Oh, have you?
I'm not very good at meringue.
Are you not?
No.
Do you use an electric whisk for that?
Well, I've only made it recently, just once, and the meringues it was a bit flat. It didn't come up picky, so I don't know. I'll have to give it another go.
If you're doing meringue, if I would say I'm doing pavlova, I would whisk the egg whites. So make sure your bowl is really, really clean. There's no oil or anything in your bowl, because sometimes that can affect it. If there's even a little bit of water in the bottom of your bowl, make sure your bowl is dry. And whisk the egg white first until they're like really peaky, until you can do the figure 8 with them.
Yeah.
And then add your sugar slowly. But you have to use your mixer for it. Right, so that's it there now, okay? So I'm just checking the recipe again. Yeah, so it's quite thick. It's a quite thick mixture, okay? And then I'm just going to put it into the dish. I'll put it into this dish here, okay? And then just put it into the middle, and then we're going to spread it out. So as you can kind of feel when you're lifting it in, it's quite dense. So it'll be quite a heavy pudding, so you won't really need that much, you know, proportion, because it is quite heavy. So it'll be very filling, you know, to have a big slice of it. Oops. Now I'm just going to grab my spatula. And don't waste any of it.
Joanne, I have a question while you're there, and you probably would know the answer. I made, it was on the program, Mary Berry was doing it, and then I have the recipe. It was for gingerbread.
Yeah.
And I noticed, you know, normally that you would be using flour and baking powder.
Yeah.
Well, in that recipe, it was baking soda, and I wondered what the reason would be.
Did she use, what kind of milk did she use? Can you remember? Buttermilk?
Yes, I think it was buttermilk.
Yeah, because when you're using an acid, which would be the buttermilk, you have to use the carbonate soda because that's an alkali.
Oh, right.
Okay?
Right.
So whenever you're using, remember we were doing the bread?
Yes.
Whenever you're using carbonate soda or bread soda, you always have to use an acid. So you can use like sour milk, buttermilk, yogurt, that whenever it hits it produces carbon monoxide when it goes into the oven. Okay, so whenever it's like a science thing, so whenever the heat hits it, it produces gas.
Right,
Okay?
right.
So that's why.
Right. I just thought it was strange using baking soda and something like that, but that explains
Yeah.
it.
If you see baking soda, there will always be like yogurt or buttermilk or lemon juice or some acid in it, you know, to counteract
Yeah.
it.
Okay.
Now, so I'm just spreading this out, okay? See, I'm just spreading it out. Go into the corners, okay? And then I'm just going to bake it. So I think it's 170 in a fan oven, okay? So mine's a fan oven, so I'm putting it in a 180 fan oven, okay? For takes about 35 to 40 minutes. Just putting on the timer here. Okay, I'm just washing my hands here. So while that's cooking, then we're going to do the cornflake tarts. Okay. Now I'm not going to make pastry for it. I have a shop, you know, the shop bought short crust pastry, but you can use, you know, the recipe for the apple tart that we done last week. If you want to make it, you can use the recipe that we used last week for the apple tart, but make sure that whenever you make pastry that you put it into the fridge. Remember last week I said to you about it's very fragile, so whenever you're using the apple tart pastry, make sure you put it in the fridge for at least a half an hour, because it'd be very hard to manage. If I just put these all over here. So the cornflake tart, I'm just going to use one of these here. It's like an enamel tin. You can use one with a bottom, you know, the tins, the bottom comes out, but I'm going to use greaseproof paper, so we'll just lift it up off the greaseproof paper and you can take it off there. All right, so we're going to grease this as well, and I'll show you at the end how I get the wee circular, thing, how to cut it for when you're greasing your tins or you're lighting your tins. Okay, so I'm just greasing this with a bit of butter. Just go all the way around it. Okay. And then I've made it a little bit bigger. Okay, and then just put it in like that. Okay. Actually, I'm just going to put it again. I don't want to have it too. I don't want to have it too high because the pastry is going to come over it. So I'm going to trim it down a wee bit. Give me a second. All right. So we'll just leave that there. Now for this recipe, the pastry is already made, as I said. So I'm using this here to line it. So what we're going to do is, have you heard of bacon and blind bacon?
Yeah.
Yeah. So what you do when you're blind bacon is, say if you want to make a quiche or you want to make a lemon meringue pie, whenever you put in, say if you're making you're making pastry and you're making, like, say we'll talk about like a quiche, okay? So whenever you put your pastry in and then you put your eggs on top, what happens is the eggs will cook and the pastry will be raw, okay? So for a lot of tarts, you have to bake it blind, okay? So what that is you put your pastry in, okay? And then you fill it with rice, dried rice, okay? And you bake it in the oven. So the pastry cake is actually cooked before you make. So we're going to make the topping for this, which is cornflakes, brown sugar, and golden syrup. Now that'll only take 5 minutes in the oven, you see, so you have to have your pastry baked. So this is called blind bacon, okay? So if anyone asks you about blind bacon, that's what it is, okay? So you're baking your pastry blind. Okay, so my pastry here is rolled. It's the one that's already rolled out, okay? So I'm just going to cut it into a circle. All right, so this is already rolled out for me, so I don't have to roll it out. So, I just thought by the time I make pastry and do all, it will run out of time. Okay, so I'm just going to put this on top of the greaseproof paper. I'm going to roll that over. Now you can roll that up and make something else with it, okay? But for this, I am just going to put this into the tin and push it up against the greaseproof paper, okay? Like this. Now I'm also going to put another little bit of greaseproof paper in the middle. So the reason I do this is, the reason I put the pastry on the bottom of this so I can lift it out at the end, okay? And the reason I'm putting the greaseproof on top of it is because if I was just to pour the rice on top of it, it'll stick to the pastry and it'll be horrible, okay? So you have to just have rice flavored pastry. All right, so I'm just going to do like a wee circle in the middle here, okay? Put it on top of it, right? So then what you do then is pour your rice onto the top. And what the rice is doing, you can use rice or you can use dried beans. And what that's doing is it's weighing it down, okay? So you want to get a nice case. So we want a case for the tart, all right? And then we're going to bake this for about, I think it's 25 minutes altogether, let's say. I think it's, yeah, for 15 minutes. And then we'll take out the rice and we'll put it back in for another 10 minutes, okay? So I'm going to bake this in the same oven as I'm doing sponge. Okay. And I've opened the oven really, really quickly and threw it in. So hopefully it doesn't sink. Okay. So if you haven't got rice, you could use lentils, dried, anything that's dried. Like if you have soup mix or anything, just use like half a cup. It's just to keep it, just to weigh it down so you're getting the shape of the tart case. Okay. So now if you want to be, if you couldn't be bothered to do all that, you can buy little cases, the little cases that you can buy in Tesco's that are already baked. You can buy them as well. okay, if you just want to make the topping to make the cornflake cake, okay. So then for this, we're going to do, I got new glasses, okay, and they're very focused, so I can see far away, but I find it really hard to read, so I'm holding it like this.
I love mine, Joanna. I got very focused not that long ago, and I love them now.
Yeah, it's taken me ages, so Pamela, to get used to them.
I've heard people saying they're very hard to get used to, but once you get onto them, they're grand.
Yeah, it's trying to read the screen or read it, like even my phone. I have to put my phone out like that, you know. But I'm short sighted, so I can see far away, like, but I can't see up close. But anyway, so yeah, so we've got that in. We're going to bake that for 5 to 10 minutes, okay. And then in the meantime, we're going to melt. We're going to use golden syrup, and I have some golden syrup here measured out, and some butter, okay. Some brown sugar, light brown sugar, as well, and some cornflakes, okay. So this is your recipe, your ingredients for your cornflake tart, okay. So then what we're going to do is we're going to use a saucepan, okay, and I'm going to put in like a spoons. I'm going to put in the butter. So it's 50 grams of butter, okay, 50 grams of butter, and 125 grams of 25 grams of the sugar, and then it's 125 grams of golden syrup. So I'm going to put them all into the pot, and then I'm just going to bring them up to the boil, okay, on the pot. Now I have a spoon here actually in hot water so that I can scrape it all out, okay. So if you have a little cup with boiling water, keep your spoon in it, and then it comes off easily, and just use it, dip it in it, and scrape your spoon, okay. Now I'm just going to leave this on the cooker here just to let it simmer. And that should take a few minutes, okay, just to melt. So whenever the pastry comes out, okay, we're going to take the beans off and cook it for another few minutes, and then I'm going to spread some jam on the top of the pastry case. All right. When you're using jam, if you're spreading jam on a sponge or anything, put it in a bowl. Okay. See, if you take it out of the jar and you're spreading it from the jar, what happens is it'll rip your cake. So I find if you put it into a bowl, just keep giving it a good mix, and then you can it spreads a lot easier. Okay. So we're going to use jam for the top of the sponge. So we're going to have jam, and then we're going to sprinkle coconut on the top of it, and we're going to use jam in the middle of the cornflake tart. Okay. So if you don't like strawberry, you can choose whatever jam. I'm using strawberry jam, but you can use apricot jam, or use whatever. If you're fussy to like blackberry jam or raspberry jam, you can use that. Okay. So I'll just tidy all this stuff away, and I'm going to get some coconut out for a sponge. So has anyone any questions? Let me see. I see some in the chat box there. Patricia said she doesn't know how to take photographs. That's all right, Patricia. I'm glad you enjoyed your shortbread. Yeah, so the mixture needs to boil. So I have it here on my agate. Okay. And just bring it up to the boil and let it melt. And then we'll add the cornflakes. So I'm not going to add the cornflakes yet until the pastry's nearly ready, because if I do that, then it's going to set in the bowl, So you want it to set near the end. So don't add your mix until the pastry's nearly ready, okay? And then I'm just using this desiccated coconut, so I'm just going to use that for decorating the top of the sponge. All right. So, yeah. So, has anyone any more questions? Does anybody want to ask anything else? Next week we're doing Victoria sandwich. I'm going to show you how to make a Victoria sandwich. We'll just be in time for Easter, so you'll be able to make a nice one for Easter. And we're going to do 15s as well. So 15s are quite easy to make. So does anyone ever make tray bakes?
Not a lot.
No. Well, these are really easy. The 15s are quite easy to make, you know. So
I've made 15s years and years ago.
yeah. There's no cooking involved in them, you know. They're so handy. So I just want to show you just one of the cakes in the oven. So see if you want to line your tin, save your bacon, okay? You're making a cake and you want to line the circle of tin. This is an easy way to do it, okay? And just go.
I was going to say I make 15s, or the last time I made them, I used the tin, but the tins nowadays are 397 milliliters.
Are you talking about the condensed milk, Hilary?
Yes, the condensed milk. But I mean, the tins are twice the size that the tins used to be.
Yeah. Yeah, you only need half the tin for the
I realized
recipe.
that when I read your recipe, I thought, oh, that's why they're so sticky.
Yeah. Oh, did you use the whole tin?
I used the whole tin.
All right, yeah. Yeah, well, you can just double up the recipe then, Hilary, you know. You know, you can double up the recipe if you're going to make it and just do double the recipe.
Yes.
I'm sure nobody's going to turn down some 15s. You can give
No,
them away.
no, definitely not.
Yeah, you can give them away as a present. It'd be lovely. Do you bake much, Hilary?
Not really. I made pineapple delight at the weekend.
Right. How do you make that, Hilary?
You know, it's digestive biscuits and margarine at the bottom, and it's baked. And then the next layer is ice and sugar, butter, and egg, raw egg.
Right.
And then the top is cream with bits of crushed pineapple in it.
Oh, lovely. You get them like with kind of icing on the very top of them. You know, is that the ones pineapple creams or something?
Well, maybe so.
The one I'm thinking of is like yellow. It's like a yellow icing on the top, and then when you bite into it, there's like cream and pineapple inside. Is that similar?
No icing on the top.
There's no icing.
There's a layer of the digestive biscuit and butter. The next layer is ice and sugar, egg, and butter.
Yeah.
And then the top layer is fresh cream whipped with pineapple in it.
Oh, lovely. Yes, it's a little mini cheesecake.
Yes.
Yeah, that sounds nice, actually. Did you use fresh pineapple, Hilary?
No. Just
tin pineapple?
Just tin pineapple.
All right. That's a good idea. I must try that, actually. That sounds nice. I can hear an echo on my thing. I'm just going to turn this down. Give me a sec. Hold on. I can't do it. Joan's saying she used to love the pineapple delights, but you just don't know how to make them. Maybe, Hilary, you could share your recipe and send it into Paula.
I will do, but maybe next week I'll have to go looking for it.
That's okay, yeah. Yeah, you could send it to Paula. I'm sure Paula would send it out to everyone.
Yeah, no problem.
My mum
I'm thinking use the full packet of digestive biscuits to the full tin of condensed milk. Yeah, and did it turn out okay, Anne?
Where's Anne?
Anne's not speaking.
Anne, you need to unmute yourself if you want to talk, that is. Oh, yes, just put it in there. Yes.
This is a very quiet group.
Feel free to chat, everybody.
Yeah, Mary's not here.
I think we're conscious we're being recorded, maybe.
Oh, don't let that put you off. It's, well.
I have made, but they're fruitery to make and take ages. Bakewell. It was like a tray bakewell, you know, like a bakewell tart. Only I did it like a tray bake.
Yeah.
but it's quite frittery, and the base is quite hard to manage because it's very short. It's it's not a pastry, it's like a shortbready sort of a thing.
Yeah.
And it was awful hard. It was very hard, and you had to, once you cooked it, you had to chill it. And then you had to do your next layer of your jam, and then you had to do the next layer, which was like frangipan.
Yeah.
You know, baked almond with ground almonds in it, and it were lovely. But it takes a long time to do it all. Yeah, but it was really nice now.
Did you do it on a full tray? Did you say?
I did. Yes, I did it on a tray. Yeah.
Right. That sounds lovely. That's one of the favourites in our houses. You know, the little cheesecake buns that you buy.
Yeah, yeah.
Yeah, because they're frangipan, aren't they? They're like
yeah. That's just the same sort of thing. Only I did it on a tray.
Yeah, that's a good idea actually. I'm just stirring this this mix here, so I have it all like soft. Now I'm just going to take out these beans. Now, because my pastry is quite thin, okay, I'm just going to take these out. And I'm going to put it back in, okay? Still with the shape of the, I'm going to put it back in for another few minutes, okay? So I was going to show you, yeah, if you want to, I'm going to show you this. If you want to make lining for your tin, your like cake tins, okay? So cut it a long piece, okay? Fold it over, okay? And then hold this part here, okay? Fold it again. Okay, so let me see, I'll pretend this is the tin, okay? So what you do then, fold it again into like a cone shape, okay? And then if you can imagine the middle of your tin, from the outside to the middle, that will be the diameter of it, okay? So if you just want to cut it out like that. And then I'm just going to cut straight across it, okay? So cut it into a little cone like that. And then when you open it up, then you have your little circle, okay? And then you can line your tin like that, okay?
Brilliant.
So it's really just putting it into a cone, okay? And then just cut it straight across. And then open it up. And then you have your wee circle or your, okay? And just cut it into the shape. It's just an easier way of getting your lining, you know, for your cakes if you're making cakes. All right. Now, I'm just going to put this stuff over here. Give me a sec. So in the baking course that we've done, we've kind of learned a good lot of the basics of baking. You know, it's like it was a basic baking course actually that we're doing. So maybe if we do another one eventually in the future, we could do a little bit more advanced. You know, if you were up for an advanced course, you know. But once you have the basics of what we've done, you know, you can use your imagination and you can add and, you know, take. The thing about when you're baking though, it's quite scientific. So whenever, like, a lot of people will, when they're cooking or making dinner, you know, you can add a little bit of this, a little bit of that. The thing with baking is it's quite scientific, so there's a reason for every ingredient. But what I mean is, like, changing jam, you can change the flavors in it, you know. You can change, like the scones that we done, you can change the different flavors of the scones, or bread, you can add, you know, different flavors to your bread or to, you know, what we done. So it's just different toppings, but the basics of what we've done more or less should stay the same, because of you know, don't say, oh, I'll not put an extra egg in, I'll just, if it says 3 eggs in the recipe, then use 3 eggs, you know. And if it says, be careful as well on your recipes, if it says about the size of your eggs, like medium eggs or large eggs, just be careful of that, because sometimes if you use a really large egg, your recipe could be too wet then, or if your eggs are quite small, then you don't have enough moisture in it, you know. So just try and follow up, you know, follow your recipe to what it said.
To tell me hands to lay a certain size now.
Sorry?
Am I going to have to tell my hands to lay eggs a certain size?
Have you got hens? We're getting hens, Hillary.
I've only 3 hands.
Oh, have you? And do you get eggs every day?
Yep.
Brilliant. Yeah, my son is making a chicken coop at the moment, and he's going to get hens. We're getting the hens now next week. So that'll be some crack.
I got my hens from a big hen farm and I was selling them off at £2 each.
Oh, brilliant. Whereabouts was that, Hillary?
You know, I don't know where it was. I saw it on Facebook. It was up near Roma somewhere.
I
Right?
think they have a battery hen rescue thing that you can rescue them.
But it probably was, well, they were free range, supposedly.
Yeah.
But then you see with the Department of Agriculture, they were, since Christmas, they were to be kept indoors because of this Asian hen flu or bird flu.
Oh, is that right?
Yeah.
Right.
Although I've let mine out again now, but
Well, they have been in.
yes,
And how many eggs would you get every day from them, Hillary?
3 usually.
Right.
I have to ask the husband because he goes out and gets them. I don't.
And do you use them for bacon?
Oh, I've used them for bacon and everything. You know, it's great having a great supply of eggs.
Yeah. Yeah, I go through some eggs in this house. I have 5 boys. 3 of them are doing like bodybuilding. So they're never doing eating eggs. So they have eggs with everything. So I said, I'd be glad when I get hens. Save me a fortune. I just take this pastry back out. Now I see in the chat there, somebody asked me, did I put the pastry back in? I did. I took the rice, the greaseproof paper with the rice. I took that out and I put it back in. Okay. So I'm just gonna. Right. So it's ready now, and I'm going to put some jam on it. Okay. So I've spread the jam. I've mixed the jam in the bowl, and I'm just going to spread it onto it. Okay. Just spread it all over. All right. So you just need a thin layer of jam. You don't need too much jam. All right. And then I'm just going to heat this up another second, just to give it a wee blast again. And then I'm going to add this into this. Okay. Or actually, I'm going to add the cornflakes into this. It's easier. Okay. Now, and then just give it a good mix. Okay. Now, if you want to make a healthy one, you can add bran flakes. If you want to add half bran flakes and half cornflakes. Okay. And then all I do then is put it back on top of this jam, okay? Put it back on, and then we're going to flatten it down. So remember to take the beans out, or the rice. Don't leave the rice in the cake freezer. Because it wouldn't taste that nice now. And then just use the back of the spoon, okay, and flatten it down. Crunch, you'll hear the crunch. Just crunch them all down, make them nice and till it fits in, you know. And then we're going to stick it back in the oven for 5 minutes. All right, that's it there. So all the cornflakes are sticking together with the syrup, with the butter and the golden syrup. All right. Now I'm going to put this back in the oven for 5 minutes. I think it says 5 minutes. Yeah. Yeah, just another 5 minutes should do it. Now the sponge is still not ready yet, so it's still soft in the middle. So I'm just leaving it in till till it cooks. Have anyone any more questions for me while we're waiting on that to cook?
Yes, I have a question. How many calories are in that? You have to ask how many calories are in it. You shouldn't be eating it, I don't think.
No, I'm afraid to even look. I'm looking at the golden syrup and I'll tell you now, carbohydrates. There's 80, let me see, for 100 grams of that tin, which has 907 calories, okay? And for 100 calories, there's 325 grams or 325 calories in 100 grams. So that's only like that much.
Yeah. Oh my God. Well, that tells you all you need to know, doesn't it?
And the butter.
The whole tin. Oh my God. The whole tin. I'm looking very
Really low calorie versions? No.
Yeah.
You would only be taking a wee bit as a treat, just the
Yeah.
The thing is, I couldn't take one piece. I would have to eat the whole thing if it was there.
There's no calories in things that you home make.
Oh,
So
yeah.
Andy, see those wee rice, see the rice things that you lined your tin with? Can you actually keep them? Yes, I've seen them in the supermarket, but the first is that I've heard tonight about your blind bacon that you talked about. Can you put them back into the tin and reuse them again?
Yeah, I would just put them into a tub now and put a lid on it and just keep them for bacon.
Yeah.
You know.
And can you bake that pastry without them? You know, can you do it the old traditional way, like an apple tart? That's the only way you can do like a cornflake pie, a cornflake tart, is with the blind bacon. Yeah.
But what you're doing, because you see the way I just put that in the oven with the crunch. It only takes about 5 minutes, but then if you were to put that in, the pastry would be raw.
Yeah, really hard.
Then the cornflakes would be burnt.
Yes.
You know, if you left it in any longer. So that's why you bake. It's like a lemon meringue pie as well.
Yeah.
You bake it blind because by the time you add your lemon curd and your meringue, and the meringue doesn't take that long, you know, so you have to have it baked before you do it, you know.
Oh, very good. I enjoyed that.
Don't throw your rice or your beans out. Keep them in a little tub with a lid and reuse them all the time, you know.
Yeah.
As long as they're covered, as long as you don't touch the food, they're not touching the pastry, and you're keeping it in the grease-proof paper, you know.
Yes.
Or if you want to line it with fresh grease-proof paper, let me see. You do not have to do that with an apple tart. Patricia, because the apple tart, it takes about, because the apples will take around the same time as the pastry to cook, so it all cooks together. The only reason you blind bake is if you're, so say you're making a quiche, okay, and you're doing, if you're doing eggs in a quiche, the eggs will cook a lot quicker than the pastry. So that's why sometimes if you get a quiche and you look and you slice into it, some of the pastry is a bit raw. You know, you want your pastry to be nice and hard and have a nice crunch. You don't want it to be soft or raw. So some places you go to, they don't do that, and they'll just put all in on the pastries raw when they put it all in together. So the egg cooks before the pastry, so the pastry's not really cooked, you know. So it's just something I learned years ago when I was in college. Is always bake your pastry cases blind if you're going to do something that's not going to cook the same amount of time, you know. So
very good.
Yeah. Let me see, I'm just reading the questions here. Yeah. So that's why, Patricia, with the apple tart. Pamela, did you put up your apples last, or did you stew them?
No, I didn't stew them. I just sliced them and put them on.
Yeah, and were they okay?
Yes.
Yeah. That's good. As long as you keep them like slice them thinly, you know. Don't leave them too.
Do you say if you were doing, because I love rhubarb, but I haven't made a rhubarb tart. I always just do crumble or whatever. I don't use rhubarb a lot. But if you were doing rhubarb, you know the way it would take ages to cook. Would you do it in advance?
Yeah, I would stew rhubarb first. Yeah.
Yeah, and then put a wee bit of corn flour in to thicken it.
Yeah, yeah. And then if you're doing your pastry and when you roll out your pastry, put it in the dish, sprinkle a little bit of corn flour on the bottom.
Yeah.
And then the juice will soak into it, you know.
Oh yeah, yeah.
Yeah. Yeah, but I definitely would stew it because it takes a while for, you know, it's quite tough.
Yeah, and somebody gave me a tip that just to soak it and put a wee bit of sugar in it the night before, yeah, and then you don't need to add a lot of water because that draws out.
Yeah.
The sugar does that, and
Yeah.
then you're not left with it like too watery if you put sugar and water in.
Yeah.
You put just the sugar, soak it, you know, pre-do it in the sugar just.
Yeah. Do
raw.
you ever make rhubarb jam? Does anyone ever make
No.
rhubarb jam?
No, no, no.
No.
My mother used to grow rhubarb in our backyard, and when we were kids, we had everything. Every way you could cook rhubarb, we had 21 ways with rhubarb. I love rhubarb now, but I think she made rhubarb jam, rhubarb crumble, rhubarb tart.
I think it's very easy to grow. Apparently, anybody that has rhubarb says they can never get rid of it because it just comes back all the time and it just like grows and grows.
Yeah.
There's an awful lot of sugar in the jam. I think if you have a kilo of rhubarb, then you have a kilo of sugar. You know, there is a lot of sugar in it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
What I made a few weeks ago, well, maybe a month ago, and it was so easy to make lemon curd.
Oh, did you?
Yeah, and I did it in the microwave. It was a recipe. I think I seen it on Nora Brown, and it was just lemons, and a wee bit of butter and sugar and egg, and you just mix all that together, and that's it.
Yeah, and then just do it in the microwave.
Yeah, you do it in the microwave. You can do it in the saucepan, but this was in the microwave, and you stir. It was 4 minutes, but you stirred it after every minute.
Yeah, yeah.
But it was so easy, and it was lovely and lemony. It's really lemon. It was really good.
Did you keep it in jam jars then, or did it disappear?
Yes. I did. I brought it into work to give a whole lot of it away.
Yeah.
And it went like hotcakes.
I say it's lovely.
It was really lovely. It was really nice.
It's fresh. I'll just put this down. So there's the cornflake tart is ready, okay? So because I put the greaseproof paper in it, okay, I just get this out. Now I'm just going to test this. So take a clean knife and stick a hole in the middle. And it's come out clean, okay? So then you know that's ready, okay? Now I just want to show you the tart. Just left that. Now because if you have a tin that has, you know, the removable bottom, you can lift it up, okay? And then I'm just going to take this paper away, take it down, all right? And that's your pie. Now, if you use that pastry there, the rollout pastry is a bit thin, but if you're using the one we made last week, you could probably do it a little bit thicker, okay? So this because it's already rolled out, it's quite thin. So it might have as many calories, Paula.
Saw the calories.
So I'm just going to tip this out and show you what to do with this. I'll just leave that over there. I'm just going to tip this out. Now this is quite heavy. Even, you know, compared to a cake, it's like a sponge cake, it's quite heavy. And then all you do then is peel off your peel off your paper very gently, okay? And then you can fight over the paper, the bits that are left on the end. All right. Now, I'll just show you now while it's hot. Maybe let it cool down a wee bit, but I'll just show you now when it's hot before we go. And then you just spread out your jam, okay? On the top of it like that. So you can leave it in the tin if you want, but I'm just taking it out just to show you. You can leave it in the tin and then just put the jam on the top in the tin, you know? But I just turned it out and put it upside down because the bottom part is a bit smoother. All right. Spread it all around. And then just get your coconut and sprinkle it all over. All right. Now you'll find with this, it's quite dense, okay? So it's quite heavy. It's compared to a cake, you'll find it's quite heavy, but it is delicious. All right. So there we go. There's our cornflake tart and our old-fashioned puddings coming to life again.
Yeah.
So whenever that cools down, then you can take it out of the paper. I'm going to cut it and I just want to show you what it looks like. So I'm just going to cut a wee slice of this piece. I'll just show you.
You'd have to taste that.
No.
Scrumptious. I just love that.
Lovely.
I know. It
I
smells
love that.
Now it's delicious with custard. You can have it with custard. Does anyone ever make homemade custard just on its own without powder, or just make with eggs and milk?
No.
No, Pamela, you'll be able to now after you made lemon curd, so it's very similar. So you just boil up your milk and then add your egg, your sugar.
All right.
Okay, so it's quite easy. Yeah, and then I'll just show you this one here. So just put a wee bit of this.
How much milk and to an egg, say, for enough for 2 people? Sorry?
I'll look it up for you and I will send it to you, okay?
Okay.
Try to look for a wee plate for this. Wait till I just put this down a wee bit. You probably should let it cool before you cut it, but I just want to show you. Right. Oops. Now let it cool down. And there's your jam sponge. So I'll just show you.
Beautiful. Beautiful.
Lovely. Gorgeous. Yeah.
Takes me back to school.
I
Yeah.
know.
And the bread and butter pudding too, Paula. Remember that, Joanne?
Correct. Oh, I didn't like it now, but
No, that was one I didn't like it.
I grew up in Dublin and we didn't get school dinners, or we got bags of sandwiches. They used to come in every day and little bottles of milk that they used to leave on the radiator. So they were like warm milk and or little buns. We used to get little buns on a Friday, like currant buns. So we didn't get much like school dinners and stuff. So there you go. So you have no excuses now. You know how to make your old-fashioned puddings.
Yeah.
Thank you.
that's great, Joanna. And
Thank
again, it'll be up on the YouTube channel, so
Yeah.
I'll send, or I think Galmar will send you a link out. If not, just Google Nerwin YouTube and you'll get all our videos up there. There's loads of other videos as well as the cooking ones. So,
Oh, that's brilliant.
so
Okay, so next week we'll be doing the Victoria sandwich and 15. So I'll see you all then. Okay.
And thank you, Joanna.
All right.
Thank you.
Bye.
Bye.
Paula.
Bye. Thank you.
Yeah.
Bye.